Hey, what is happening, bulls and bears? Back with another dose of economic reality. I'm recording this today on Sunday. It is June 4th, 2023. Thank you for joining me here today. As usual, I've got a lot of news to run through today and go over. First of all, a quick update talking about people working multiple jobs. People that have been on this channel that have seen most of my videos have probably heard me talk about the checkout lady at my favorite grocery store. If you've been on this channel, you know my favorite grocery store. Well, the checkout lady that also works at my kid's school. So for those of you that didn't hear me talk about this, there's a checkout lady at the grocery store. And I recognized her. I'm like, where have I seen you at? She's like, oh, I have two jobs. I work at the school. I'm like, oh, yeah, you work at my kid's school. I've seen her out there. She helps get kids off the bus, etc. So she's working two jobs, of course. Just found out she's moving back in with her husband's family because the cost of living, combination of medical bills and just general bills, um, bills that most people have to pay, are driving her to live with her family. So that's the story that we're seeing out of a lot of people here. And yet you see these people out at the store and maybe drinking a $25 beer at SeaWorld or, yeah, I think, see my last video, I got an email from a hater telling me how wrong I was because everybody at SeaWorld was drinking these $25 beers. So maybe you'll see somebody like that drinking a $25 beer. Maybe it'll be a baseball game. And you think, wow, the economy's great. Look at all these people with all this money to spend. Well, the people that are spending money recklessly, my guess is a lot of them are probably doing the same thing as the checkout lady at the grocery store, living with family, moving in with relatives, maybe living in their parents' basement, who knows. My point is, just because people are out spending money doesn't mean they're doing financially well. Also, you would think that someone drinking an expensive beer at a ball game or even at a ball game is doing financially well, just because those things are optional. You don't have to have those. Those are discretionary items. But people do dumb things. I mean, look at all the idiots that you see every day. Just watch the news. Look at some of the crimes that are being committed. Just idiots after idiot after idiot. I mean, we're a nation of idiots, and people think we're some sort of nation that's better than these other nations. That the people here are better or smarter. Not really. I mean, for a while, we had some really good things going on, inventions and the Industrial Revolution. Anyways, I digress. Let's get back into the news here. Um, Saudi Arabia going to be cutting oil output by millions of barrels daily. And just when you thought you had some relief, I pointed to the oil price as one of the bright spots or one of the pieces of good news as far as maybe getting some cheaper gas here this summer. Well, there goes that. Looks like we'll see how fast gas prices shoot up. We didn't see much relief here in California at all. We're still 450 plus per gallon, even for the cheapest grade of fuel. So not much relief here in California, but hey, it's my fault for staying here in California. Elon Musk predicts housing crash. Wow. Didn't he predict the crash last year? Huh. He seems pretty busy. Anyway, how can he be the CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, but now you're an economist, so he's got a lot of time now. He's sure the housing market's going to crash. Commercial real estate is, quote, melting down fast. That's actually true. Commercial real estate is melting down fast. He said the U.S. housing market is next. And he said, quote, this is by far the most serious looming issue, unquote. Well, it's actually a good thing if the housing market crashes. It's not a bad thing. I've always pointed to it as a good thing. Rewind back to 2010. Bought my first single family detached home. Before that, I just had a condo townhome. If it weren't for the real estate crash, I would have never afforded a home here in California, probably because back then I wasn't making very much money. Not that I'm rich now, but crashes can be good things. The problem is if prices do plunge, how many people that have been waiting to buy a home are still going to have a job to buy a home? How many people are still going to have a down payment? Well, when you look at the savings rate, not many people are going to have a down payment. And not many people will be able to get a loan because their credit's going to be so dinged up because the amounts of debt. So a lot of things to think about, when you think about a price correction. Let's talk about what's happening up at Amazon. Amazon employees are protesting because they don't want to return to the office. They don't want to return to the office. So it's pretty interesting. We see these companies out there saying, we've got to do what's good for the environment. We don't want there to be too much pollution, but yet they want all these people driving to work when they can do the same thing at home, right? So something doesn't make sense. Something doesn't add up with all this environmental, this big environmental push here. Okay, so if you're serious about less pollution, less cars on the road, let the people work from home. I have to take everybody here in California that owns a car has to take a smog test every 2 years, and that tells you right there that they look at automobiles as a pollutant. They are, but now you're saying you have to have all these people driving to work every day when they can do the same job at home, staring at a computer screen, talking on the phone. Doesn't make much sense, does it? So you tell me what's going on with that. It's very, very strange. Article here out of Smart Asset. Is $3 million enough to retire comfortably at age 65? What? We're asking the question here. Is $3 million enough to retire comfortably at 65? You might only have a couple decades left, maybe less, depending on if you lived a good lifestyle, maybe you'll have 20 years after that. So we're seriously asking the question now, is $3 million enough to retire at 65? This is a real article. The fact that we even have to have this article come up here and ask this question tells you that something is seriously, seriously wrong. And back to what we talked about at the beginning, what I talked about in my last report about looking at people out spending money and using that as a gauge or as a sign that the economy is good. We're in in a system of endless consumption. Here's another example. A client of mine had to file bankruptcy. It's not somebody that I do wealth management for, so don't come at me like that. They filed bankruptcy. This was almost a year ago now. They're still traveling, taking vacations, still shopping at the same places, still shopping at Costco for most of their groceries, which I don't think is a good idea. They're going to some soccer tournament over in Arizona. So driving from California to Arizona, like, not sure if it's Scottsdale. I think it's Scottsdale area around Phoenix. Like 4 to 6 hour drive, something like that. And they filed bankruptcy last year, right? So just because you see people out traveling, spending money, wasting money on expensive things, doesn't mean they're doing well. And when you can just create money out of thin air, you enable this endless consumption, right? So you could spend money, run up debt, $100,000, let's just say $100,000, erase it in bankruptcy. A couple months later, you're going to get more credit card offers in the mail. You're going to go back into debt and maybe run up the next $100,000 in 10 years, do it again, rinse and repeat, right? So this is only possible with the fake money system that we have right now, where you can click a mouse, create trillions of dollars out of thin air, send money all over the world. There's no limit on the amount of money they can create. They can create more money at the click of a mouse that you're going to make in your entire life working. How does that make you feel? Pretty crazy, right? So this is crazy, folks. We're going to go back to sound money ultimately. That's why one of the backbones of this channel is sound money, stacking precious metals. My favorite, still silver. Not a bad investment if you get in at the right times. I remember getting in and stacking. It was in the $14 range, $14 per ounce. I'm not sure what, maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Now it's 23, 24. Not bad, even if you're looking at it as an investment. I look at it as more of a long-term play, a safety net insurance policy / long-term play. Because when you go back to precious metals, ultimately, yes, we're going back to precious metals. That's going to be our monetary system at some point. Now, first we have to get through this digital system that they want everybody under, this digital currency, and it's going to be a programmable currency, and they're going to be able to control every aspect of your spending, and it's going to be very nightmarish. I think that's going to be implemented here in the not too distant future, but it's not going to last long, because the carnage that people are going to see that is going to be felt throughout the economy people are going to demand sound money at the end of it here. Let's get into some more numbers here, though. Commercial and individual bankruptcies on the rise across the U.S. I told everybody here 2023 was going to be the year. Commercial bankruptcy filings increased 31% in May compared to 2022. Individual bankruptcies increased, so year over year, up 23%. And we're not even halfway through the year yet. By the end of the year, I expect it to be closer to 60%, and probably even worse than that, maybe even a doubling, which would be 100%. But yet it doesn't mean that the stores are going to be empty. Why? Because they can just click a mouse and put more credit on a plastic card, maybe from a too big to fail bank that is going to be promised endless life support. So what does this mean? What does this mean? This means that everything is going to get less. What's the word I'm looking for? Things are going to get less. You're going to see less quality out there, right? Just think about our food, the things we buy. The quality's, really, really bad. The costs are higher. The quality's bad. You're paying more, getting less. Shrinkflation. Our standard of living is actually dropping, but it's happened so gradually that most people don't recognize it. But you should recognize it. You should just look around and see how many years people have to work, people retiring, still not out of debt, people questioning if $3 million is enough to retire on at the age of 65. Wacky. I mean, wacky, folks. Now, everybody here by now knows that they passed the debt ceiling, or basically suspended the debt ceiling. But before that, we had Janet Yellen out there screaming, basically screaming fire in a theater that Social Security recipients weren't going to get paid. And people thought I was doom and gloom. If you thought I was doom and gloom, go talk to Janet Yellen and ask her why she was so doomish and gloomish, saying that people weren't going to get their checks. And what happens when people living paycheck to paycheck miss one check? Well, they're either stealing, putting more money on their credit card, or starving, or letting their lights go off. So pretty interesting. And also the fact that they're telling us that those people were not going to get their money without a debt ceiling increase. That should be pretty scary. That should tell you what's really happening behind the scenes. We're told all these programs are funded for decades and that you don't have anything to worry about. But yet, if we don't take on the next leg up in the debt, then people are going to stop getting their checks, right? So a lot of crazy things, a lot of strange things happening. And I'm not telling you I have all the answers, but I want you to ask the right questions so you know how to prepare. Go out as soon as you can, get some extra food. I think we're going to have let me call it a shutdown event coming up in the very near future, where they're likely going to blame the fall of this economy on some sort of outage. And I have to be very careful about the way I word things here. But I think something like that's going to happen. I think they're going to blame a certain country and try to put the blame somewhere else. And maybe it will be that country that does it, right? I'm not here to tell you, exactly all the inner workings of the things we're going to see, but I want you to prepare. That's the big thing, right? So just because you know exactly what happened, is that going to matter if you have no food to eat for 3 or 4 weeks or a few months when everything's shut down, the bank shut down, the store shut down, get no gas stations, no ATM machines, right? So that's the big thing. Prepare. Go out, get some extra food, get some extra water, have some money out of the system, have some tradable items out of the system. Whether you think people are going to take cash, whether they're going to take precious metals. A friend of mine runs a gold buying shop, and he says a lot of people are coming in for grams of gold because gold's so expensive now. They're buying into these really small grams, these like little squares or rectangles. And some of them are telling my friend that the reason they're doing that is so they can barter when this whole thing comes down, when this thing collapses, right? So a lot more people are realizing what's going on. They're seeing the writing on the wall. They are asking a lot of the questions that we ask here today that I think a lot of you are asking anyways. They're saying, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. What's going on here? And, things happen slowly and it makes people complacent. But remember, things always look good. Things always look normal before things get really bad. Look at 2008, right? right up until the housing market started coming down very quickly, until some of those banks failed back then, those subprime mortgage lenders failed. Right up until the last minute, everything was fine. They were talking about how home prices were up year over year. Now we're already seeing this year, we're already seeing prices down year over year on a national level. Not in all areas. Some cities are actually still up year over year, believe it or not. And by the way, I was one of the only channels that said there wasn't going to be a housing crash in 2020. Why? Because we knew that there was a president slash administration that wanted to stay in power, so that I said they wouldn't let the markets collapse. Stock market came down had a very deep correction, but then it was pumped back up to new all-time highs shortly afterwards. And again, that's only possible when you have money that can be created at the click of a mouse. So hedge yourself, folks. Position yourself against this fake money system. You know exactly the direction we're headed, but also prepare for that outage situation that I think is coming in the very near future. Because this is all just too much. They're trying to feed us all these lies, all these reasons why things are happening, and more people are waking up realizing it doesn't make sense. So I think they're going to need to bring this whole thing down, and we're going to see a big outage and transfer then into the next phase of this system of money. And it's going to be pretty scary unless you're prepared, but I think we're going to be prepared. So keep stacking, folks. Go out and get yourself a few extra cans today. Also, send a message, text somebody that you haven't texted in a while, maybe a family member. I try to do that now at least once a week. I'll text an old friend, a family member I haven't talked to in a while. Hey, how you doing? What's new? And I don't have a lot of time to chat, so I don't try to get too into a conversation, because I'm a busy person, and I think a lot of you are too. But if you have a few extra minutes, just say hi. And maybe you're not as busy as me. Maybe you have time to pick up the phone and chat for a few hours, and maybe you go visit a friend or relative you haven't seen in a while. It's going to make them feel good. We're only here for a short time, so make the most of it. But let's have a quality time here. So keep stacking, folks. We're going to wrap it up. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like this channel, please give us a like, thumbs up, and subscribe. Come back for more updates. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Big love. Bye for now. Peace.